MLB network analyst, Sports Illustrated senior baseball writer, also baseball on Fox. How would you recap the last 72 hours, Tom, in baseball?
Wild. I mean, I'm talking about I call them the most compelling players available on the planet. Talking about Shohei Ohtani and Giancarlo Stanton going to the Angels and the Yankees. I mean, players like this are marquee names that just don't become available. And they did, and one wound up in L.A., I'm going to call it Anaheim, but L.A., and the other wound up in New York. It's seismic in terms of the impact these guys can make.
But if you're the commissioner, Rob Manfred, and you look at this deal that the Yankees and Marlins pulled off, is there any trepidation, hesitation on your part as the commissioner of baseball to look at this and say, yep, I'm fine with this going through?
He's fine with it. I can tell you that. Everybody in baseball is fine with this because the Yankees are back. You know, last year they were a nice story, got within one game of the World Series. Aaron Judge was one of the most popular players in all of the land, and they just got bigger and badder. And they're like the old Yankees now. They're easy to love and probably easier to hate because they're so darn good. They are going to be like Jordan's Bulls. They're going to be like the Beatles. I'm just talking about as they travel around on the road as the number one attraction in baseball.
Okay, is it good for – I know that we love the big market teams getting these players, but this is Florida with another – they usually clean house when they win a World Series. They're cleaning house. They didn't come close to winning a World Series. And what do you get in return? That's what I didn't understand. Why didn't –
Man, I feel so sorry for Marlins fans, South Florida in general, because – you know, let's face it, Jeffrey Lurie, the previous owner, never really reached out to them. That never was a bond between the team and the community because there were so many fire sales. Now you're all excited about this new ownership. Somebody's taking over your favorite restaurant with new ownership, and they changed the menu, and not for the better. Trading away Giancarlo Stanton, as you said, it was a complete salary dump. It's not as if they got anybody back that they can be excited about today. And maybe even down the road. So it was all about them cutting payroll. They're not done yet. Everything that those fans have been through and they thought things might change, it's actually going to get worse for the next couple of years because now they owe it to the franchise to really strip it down. It makes no sense to try to get, say, a second wild card spot, put together an 85-win team.
Yeah.
They're going to be bad.
For a long time. We're talking to Tom Verducci. He's at the winter baseball meetings in Orlando. All right, tell me about Shohei Ohtani. And I thought he would go to an American League team because he could DH on the days he's not pitching. Explain the whole phenomenon with him and why did he end up with the Angels?
Well, you're right about the DH. I mean, he hasn't played the outfield in about 4 years on any kind of regular basis. So I think even though the agent set out saying, you know, he didn't have specifics in mind, there's no doubt that geography, the West Coast, and being a DH had a lot to do with it. So now you're down to the Mariners and the Angels. For American League West Coast teams, Angels make a lot of sense. They'll use him once a week as a starting pitcher. They'll use him 3 times a week as a DH. So Albert Pujols is either going to have to sit or play some more first base, which he hasn't done the last 2 years. But Ohtani can be an all-star as a hitter or as a pitcher. I don't think he can be an all-star doing both. I think he'll be an impact starting pitcher right away. But making the transition as a hitter and really a part-time hitter, it's going to be extremely difficult for him just in terms of physical recovery aspect of pitching. But I do think, Dan, everybody was on board with this guy in terms of makeup, athleticism, talent. I compare him to Jacob deGrom on the mound. I think he's going to be that good that quickly. Yeah. Whether he hits, I think in time he will hit, but there's definitely a bigger upside on the mound.
Why the Angels?
Well, I mean, listen, the Angels haven't won a playoff game in 8 years. They have one of the worst farm system in baseball. So it's not as if he sat down and said which team is going to be good for the next 6 years because he's bound to the team that he signed with for 6 years. I think it was because he did prefer the West Coast. There's no doubt about that. And he did want a DH. And, listen, Mike Trout got on the phone and they FaceTimed during the meeting. But, Buster Posey was in the room for the Giants, right there in the room with Ohtani. Everybody was, they made videos of star players saying, we want you. He said he felt a connection to the Angels. I think it was because it's Southern California and it's the ability to DH. A National League team to me just did not make any sense.
I saw this from Buster Olney here, and boy, there's some stuff going on behind the scenes that the commissioner's attention has been on this topic. It's been unprecedented, a team executive told Buster Olney, but they want to know if there was any quid pro quo promises outside of the rules in recruiting Ohtani, because you only had a certain amount of money that you could give him, but they're warned, I guess teams were warned against discussing future contracts and business relationships and against third-party machinations paying off someone who might have had influence with Ohtani. Yikes.
Yeah, and these warnings have been out there for a year. Everybody knew that Ohtani was coming. If he waited 2 years at the age of 25 based on the new rules, he was a total free agent, no restrictions on the amount of money. He probably gets $200 million. So now the most he could get was a little over $3 million. The guy's given up almost $200 million to come 2 years early. So naturally the inclination was, I mean, this is going back, this is like college recruiting. You know, you sign with the school that offers you the best deal, and I mean a deal. And there was some thought that a team could say, listen, we know you're giving up a lot of money, but as soon as you sign here, we've got an extension in our pocket to give you that $200 million. Well, that's against the rules. And you saw that the commissioner just banned for life John Capolella, the Braves GM, and that was in terms of skirting the rules and international free agents. And I think that was a shot across the bow to every team to say, we're watching you closely. And that got everybody's attention because that penalty was a lot more severe than people thought. And whether it was coincidental or not, I do think it served as a warning with how clubs dealt with Ohtani.
Have fun at the meetings, Tom. We appreciate your time, as always.
Thanks, man.
That's Tom Verducci, great baseball writer, broadcaster for Major League Baseball Network and MLB on Fox.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.